in order to simplify this expression here, which is x to the 1/6 times x to the 1/3, we're going to need to understand a couple of things about how exponents work. One of them is the product rule, right? That's extremely important. When you have x raised to some power times x raised to another power, as long as the base, this x value, is equal, then you can just add those exponents together. And the other rule that we're going to need tells us how to handle rational exponents, in other words, fraction exponents. What that means when you see a fraction exponent is it's something like a root, maybe a square root, maybe a cubed root, maybe a fourth root, depending on what b is. And the numerator of that fraction is something that you raise x to the power of inside the square root symbol. Okay, so let's take those two rules and see how we work it out for this problem. First of all, x to the 1/6 times x to the 1/3. Since x, the base, is equal in both cases, this becomes x to the 1/6 plus 1/3. Okay, great. What's 1/6 plus 1/3? Well, that is just x to the 1/6 plus 2/6, right? I have common denominators, and that is equal to x to the 3/6, which we can simplify, just like you would any fraction, to x to the 1/2. And now is where I want to bring in that rational exponents formula. How do we deal with this x to the 1/2 thing? Because you don't see that in the answers. What you have to do is remember that the top of that fraction is the exponent of x. The bottom of the fraction tells you what sort of root we're taking of x. So I'm looking for the square root of x to the 1, okay, which is this guy right here. I notice there's a couple other answers that have square roots, but without a 2 in them, right? Like square root of x to the 18th, square root of x squared. Don't let that bother you. These mean the same thing. When you see something with a 2 in the index, that is exactly the same as this, for example, the square root of x. The 2, when it's not written, is assumed to be 2. If it's supposed to be something besides 2, they'll tell you. It'll be like cube root, fourth root with a 3 or a 4 or so on.